Before we get into today's video, it's a lot of talking, and I know that, but the message that is throughout it is really, really important, and I promise I will put in some gear stuff in here, but please just watch this video all the way through, because what I'm trying to share with you all is so important, and I think it's just really incredible, and I want you guys to hear it. So please listen to it, comment on it, share it, and if you really like what I have to say, give it a like and a subscribe, because this is the kind of stuff I really want to talk about and be able to produce better versions of in the future. So please, please, please stick around for this. I know it takes a lot to pay attention, but gosh, I will appreciate it so much. Let's get into it. What's going on? I just flew in here as quick as I could after walking the dogs. Boy, my arms are tired. But seriously, it's 13 degrees outside, so I was freezing and had to get back in here, and I wanted to make this video. Who wants to play video games? But it's freezing outside, and I wanted to come back in here and make this video for you all, so let's get into it. But before we do that, check out this outfit. I think it looks pretty dope. We got a 66 North wool and fur hat. We've got an alpaca wool sweater, because that's very good at keeping heat in. And then I've got a top layer of the sweater I got from the hotel from this weekend at Jekyll Island. And obviously, that's what this video is about. Now, Jekyll Island is a great little island off the coast of Georgia, and it's part of what they call the Golden Isles. But it has a lot of amazing history and some really cool beaches and wetlands for you to explore. They also have an incredible sea turtle hospital I really want to talk about, because they do so much on the island and just for marine life all over the place in general. But the reason we were down there this past week was for the Jekyll Island Marathon. My brother-in-laws and my youngest little sister were all running in it, and then I was taking photos and videos of the race. And so we kind of just made it a family affair, and so we just kind of packed up and went down there and stayed in some of our favorite hotels and just had a great time. I got to spend tons of time with my nieces, and all of us like to go to the Sea Turtle Center, and so we did that during the race and before it, and then explored the beaches. But let's talk about some of the stuff that's there. The marathon is actually a really cool setup. So the way that you do it, because the island, the perimeter of it is almost a full length for a marathon. So you can almost get away with just running around the border of the island. So it's a beautiful setup for a race. Since it's not quite there, what they do is you'll start at the Jekyll Island Club, this hotel, and this is a super cool historic hotel. If you're down there, definitely, even if you don't stay there, go check it out, because they have like historic cottages and everything, just cool place to explore. But you start there and you kind of go through the marshland a little bit, and then you backtrack just a little bit to get the actual 26.2 miles in there. And then you just run all the way around the perimeter of the island. So you go through the lower end, where it's just this beautiful sandy beach with dunes and everything. And then you're going through beside the wetlands, and then up on the northern end of the island where Driftwood Beach is. And you come all the way back around and finish back at the hotel. And as far as our race goes, fantastic views. It's super enjoyable. The organizers were really awesome, and honestly, everyone participating, working, cheering people on, just had a great time. mentioned Driftwood Beach, and Driftwood Beach is one of my favorite places on the island, outside of the Sea Turtle Center and some of the like historic buildings that you get to see, because it's just this incredible place. It was created by decades of erosion on the northern end of the island, and it caused all these massive trees to just uproot and fall over and then get bleached out in the sun, and they create these, it's essentially a sculpture park but made by nature. And it's so cool to just explore and look around and spend time. I could spend a whole trip there constantly, forever, and always find something new and interesting to see. It's just one of those places, very, very cool. And I love going there and exploring and seeing the textures and shapes and like layout of everything. And it just tickles my brain in a very creative way that I absolutely love. So you need to check it out if you have a chance. Now, since this is a gear focused channel, I didn't want to leave you guys without some review of the gear that I used for doing the shoots and just enjoying time on the beach when it was cold. Now, obviously, wool hats and sweaters from Norse Projects pulled heavy duty, because I liked using these as mid layers, and then the hat obviously keeping me warm. Now, my base layer is always a proof 72-hour tee, long sleeve, short sleeve, Henley, like whatever. I'm always using one of these. I will have these in hot weather, cold weather. I will always talk about the heat regulation of wool for hot and cold weather, because it isn't fantastic. And these proof ones are really stout wool base layers, or just wool performance shirts for running or being in hot weather, because wool regulates on both ends. And most people don't realize that. They think wool, they think cold weather, but this is perfect for everything. And this was my base layer every single day while I was out there. Now, while I was shooting, I had a little bit different setup. Had this hoodie from Snow Peak. It's the Takibi fire-resistant hoodie. This hoodie is a mix of mode acrylic and cotton, and that's what makes it flame-resistant. But the reason I had it for while I was shooting footage, because I have my 70-200 and then some shorter prime lenses, and I wanted to be able to swap them out as I was going very quickly and efficiently, so I wouldn't miss the shot for the people running. I wanted to get this because not only does it have front pockets, it has these awesome back pockets that I can perfectly fit my lenses into. So I was able to have my camera out, take off a lens, put it in here, grab another one, and swap it out super quick and very efficiently. So that's what I did. But by the time I got done shooting, this thing was kind of a sweaty mess, because I ended up running around all over the place. So I went to the hotel shop and bought this fleece. It's a fleece interior and then like a nice tight knit exterior zip up hoodie, because I like to have something over my wool to kind of keep in that heat, because wool works the absolute best as a mid layer so that it lofts kind of the area, the air in between your outer layer and your inner layer, and the wool will keep it super warm. It was almost freezing down there the whole time, so definitely glad I brought sweaters and jackets and stuff to the beach. Then the rest of my gear was just my black diamond headlamp and that Celeste flashlight that I had for kind of lighting up areas on the island interior stuff when it was overcast. Obviously you can't use that one on the beach because you've got to have the red lights, but works great everywhere else. Just puts off such awesome diffuse light, and it's waterproof, so I can use it in rainy, sort of cloudy situations like we were in. It's kind of all the gear that I purposely needed for the trip to kind of do what I was doing. If you have any questions about it or just want to know anything else, please leave it in the comments below. You know I love chatting with you guys about the gear. But now let's get back into the storytelling, because this is a really important message, and I really hope you guys stick around and listen to it. possibly the biggest thing on the island is the Georgia Sea Turtle Center. Is the reason this is so popular and so amazing, the reason I wanted to talk about it so much is because, one, they take care of marine life all over the place and they do such a good job of it. But they have it where it's open, so you can come in, you can see, they have one of their operating rooms that's viewable where you can see them working on sea turtles or any other kind of marine animal that's there. They have a rehabilitation area where they will teach you about like what's going on with the turtles and kind of what they're doing to rehabilitate them, where they came from, what happened to them, why they ended up at the Sea Turtle Center. But beyond that, they've done this awesome thing, and just Jekyll Island as a whole does a great job about it, and I feel like the world needs to know, because it's not something that kind of everyone does. Conservation and tourism are often at odds with one another. They feel oftentimes like the antithesis of each other, because it's so hard to welcome in just tons and tons of people and then preserve and conserve the area and the nature and wildlife and stuff when you get that many people coming in, exploring and doing all of this. Jekyll Island does a great job, and you know, the government is obviously, you know, a huge part of that. The historic center is a huge part of that, but I think what is like the biggest draw for people is the Sea Turtle Center, because they've done this great job of making everything very tourist friendly. Not only the education and all of that kind of stuff that you would expect, but actual things that would normally be problems in areas. So when sea turtles are nesting, it's a problem in a lot of places because people will want to be on the beach and they will like end up inadvertently like smashing sea turtle nests or blocking off paths for sea turtles to make nests and doing all of that. But Jekyll Island and the Jekyll Island Sea Turtle Center has like essentially gamified the sea turtle nest. So they encourage everyone to be on the lookout for sea turtle nests and then call them in, and they make a big to-do about it, so it's like a fun game. But then also the education part isn't done in like a punitive way. It's done in a way that encourages people to do this because they might actually see a sea turtle. They might actually see this kind of wildlife if they set up their campsites in such a way, if they like follow these sorts of rules. And it's really brilliant. And I really wanted to, while I was down there, talk to the people kind of behind this. Schedules didn't work out. Maybe eventually, if you guys are watching this video, I'd love to talk to you about all this because it's just so impressive. And I want everyone else to know about it because this is something really cool that's happening in my home state, and it's being done so well. And I think so many places could have an awesome boost in tourism and conservation from this kind of attitude. But then in the fall or the end of the summer area, when sea turtle nests start hatching, all the little eggs start hatching, everybody goes, all the little turtles go back to the beach. Again, it's a gamified thing. It's like, oh, see if you can find a sea turtle nest, call it in for us, and we'll come out and like set up everything around it, make a big to-do about it. And again, it's not punitive, but it's a celebration of this awesome thing that's naturally happening, right? And like, that's just incredibly cool. And it makes the public really, really want to kind of be involved. And it's a big ask because when you have a major sea turtle nesting ground area like that, you kind of have to do a lot of stuff to make sure that their nesting and their habitat is done really, really well. Like, for instance, from May to August, you can't have normal flashlights or headlamps or even lights on your house facing the beach, because the lights on houses and buildings and stuff confuse sea turtles with moonlight, and the trying to come in and make their nest and then trying to leave for the little babies to go back to the ocean, it causes all kinds of problems. But then also regular flashlights and stuff will blind the big sea turtles or the babies to long enough that it makes them huge targets for predators and everything. So you have to have red lights. And another reason I want more people to see this video and learn about all this stuff is so companies will start making more stuff with designs that will kind of help facilitate this, because we all have to work together for stuff like this. Like, my current favorite lantern right now is this Celeste lantern from Snow Peak. This thing is incredible. It's bright. It makes beautiful light. Super easy to use. Absolutely love it. It has a flashlight and a lantern. But how cool would it be if they had the ability to make this a very warm light? So I could take it, the LEDs from what they are to a very warm orange or even a full-on kind of red like that light. And then it's sea turtle safe, because right now it's a little on the edge for that. Like this is kind of too white for using during sea turtle season, right? But if they had the ability to change the warmth on that, or even just a couple of red LEDs in there for a red light mode like that, then it would make things like this even more awesome. And I could use this at one of my favorite places during one of my favorite times, right? And I think, you know, getting awareness about all of this kind of helps companies do that, because you don't know what you don't know, and that's true for companies and for people. So pushing the world forward into something super cool is kind of the goal with this video. But oh my gosh, just so much amazing stuff that they do. I could talk about it forever. For instance, one of the big things that they're currently dealing with, and apparently they do it every year, but this year was particularly bad, and I had no clue about this, so it was really cool to hear the doctors talking about this in the rehabilitation part of the Sea Turtle Center, and is in Cape Cod. So in Massachusetts, where you have Cape Cod, you know, it's like east to west, and it just blocks off a chunk of the ocean. That's what creates the Cape Cod Bay. It looks kind of like this. Apparently, tons of sea turtles go up there during the summer so that they can eat lobster and shrimp and crab and all the stuff that we like to eat when we're up there. But then when it's time for them to come back to warmer water, because obviously turtles have to have very warm water to survive, they're like, oh, their brains are like, oh, I need to go south. And they head straight south and then hit the back end of Cape Cod, and there's mass stranding events every year. And some years, you know, it's dozens, some years it's hundreds, a few years it's like 1,000 sea turtles get stranded on the beach in Cape Cod, and they have to be taken care of, because by the time they would get back up and around to go where they need to, the water's too cold and they're freezing to death. So like this year, they had over 800 cases of that, where they were stuck and stranded. And so the Georgia Sea Turtle Center was called to help facilitate and deal with all of this. So they kind of took point and helped with a bunch of other crews. Like there's a company called Yes Turtles Can Fly, I think's their name, and they help load the turtles up on planes and helicopters and all kinds of stuff and fly them down to the Sea Turtle Center and kind of help take care of them and rehabilitate them. And then the ones that they can't handle, they will send to other aquariums or scientific facilities to kind of help facilitate their rehabilitation from being so cold, and then let them back out into the wild. Such great work, but then they do such a good job of making tourists and the community a part of that work, that it makes you want to follow these rules and be a part of these conservation efforts. And it's just so much bigger than so many places where they're just like, hey, we have birds nesting here, you can't go here, like just don't do it. But then people want to see all of this and see like the stuff around it, and they always try to do it. And like, I don't know what the solution is for everywhere, but I think if places that need tourism to survive, but also have very high conservation needs, if they would take an extra moment to kind of brainstorm and think about creative solutions like this, or maybe even call up the people at Jekyll Island and like brainstorm there with what they do and how they've done it, I think we could make some really cool steps forward in the world of conservation and tourism, because we're never going to be able to just keep people out and preserve places like that. And also, if people can't see and enjoy those places, then they don't care as much about preserving them. But if we can figure out ways to bring people together and have them enjoy the conservation process, we can have an amazing planet for many, 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 many decades to come. And I just think that's so cool. And I love what they're doing down there in Jekyll Island, around all of that kind of stuff with sea turtles and with historic buildings and sand dunes and just all of the stuff that they do for conservation and history, and then involving tourists and all of that. Very, very cool. I hope you guys go down to Jekyll Island and check it out, because it's one of my favorite places, and maybe I'll see you out there. Okay, bye.